Some files are never meant to be closed. They just sit in dusty boxes filled with faded photos, yellowing reports, and the faint echoes of lives cut short. Ghosts of victims waiting for a justice that, for too many, will likely never come. For every high-profile case that grabs headlines and gets solved in a blaze of DNA glory, countless others fade into obscurity, pushed aside by shrinking budgets, new horrors demanding attention, or simply a complete absence of viable leads. These are the stories of people who were brutally murdered or who vanished without a trace, leaving behind baffling mysteries that completely stumped even the most dedicated investigators. Decades later, with almost all realistic hope for answers long gone, their cases feel like a quiet, unspoken surrender. These are 10 of those stories, the cold cases the police seem to have quietly given up on, until perhaps, in some cases, a miracle of modern science briefly reignited the flame. It started on a lonely beach in 1948. A man, impeccably dressed in a suit and polished shoes, lay dead against the seawall with no wallet, no identification, and strangely, no obvious signs of violence or struggle. The only tangible clue was a tiny scrap of paper tucked deep in a hidden pocket of his trousers. Just two cryptic words: "Tamam should. It is finished." For over 70 years, who he was, why he died, and what those words truly meant remained one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, a case that left authorities utterly powerless. So what happens when a trail runs so cold it doesn't just cool, it disappears completely into the fog of time? 1. The Somerton Man, the man who never was. The enigma began on the morning of December 1st, 1948, on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. Passers-by noticed a well-dressed man propped against the seawall, looking almost as if he'd simply fallen asleep after a long night out. But he wasn't sleeping. He was dead. No wounds, no identification, no luggage. His clothes bore no labels. Every tag had been carefully removed. An autopsy revealed nothing conclusive, no poison they could detect, no obvious trauma, just a possible heart failure or perhaps something more sinister they couldn't prove. Police circulated his fingerprints and photo worldwide. Nothing. Then came the breakthrough that only deepened the riddle: a suitcase found at the nearby train station containing clothes with the labels cut out, a stencil kit, and other odd items. Most tantalizing, a torn piece from the rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam was discovered months later in a hidden pocket of the man's trousers, bearing the phrase, "Tamam should. It is finished." For over 70 years, who he was, why he died, and what those words truly meant remained one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, a case that left authorities utterly powerless. So what happens when a trail runs so cold it doesn't just cool, it disappears completely into the fog of time? 2. The Black Dahlia, Hollywood's darkest secret. Few crimes sear themselves into the collective American psyche quite like the murder of Elizabeth Short. On January 15, 1947, a mother walking with her young daughter in a vacant lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, stumbled upon a sight of pure horror. The 22-year-old aspiring actress, known posthumously as the Black Dahlia for her striking dark hair and clothing, had been sliced in half at the waist, drained of blood, scrubbed clean, and posed grotesquely. Her face had been carved into a ghastly Glasgow smile. No fingerprints, no murder weapon, no clear motive. The LAPD launched one of the largest investigations in its history, interviewing over 150 suspects, from jealous suitors to surgeons gone wrong, even mob figures. The killer himself fueled the frenzy, sending taunting letters and items to newspapers, including Short's belongings. Yet every lead evaporated. Theories ranged from a botched abortion to a sadistic killer with medical knowledge. The media circus turned the case into legend, but justice never followed. Nearly 80 years on, with original evidence degraded, witnesses deceased, and suspects long buried, the Black Dahlia murder stands as one of Los Angeles County's most infamous unsolved homicides, a chilling monument to a killer who slipped away into the shadows of Hollywood's underbelly, leaving only nightmares behind. 3. The Zodiac Killer, the terror of San Francisco. From late 1968 into 1969, Northern California lived under a pall of fear. A faceless killer who dubbed himself Zodiac struck at random lovers' lanes, a cab driver in Presidio Heights, claiming at least 5 confirmed murders and 2 survivors, though he boasted of dozens more in his letters. What set him apart was the taunting, cryptic ciphers mailed to newspapers, bragging about his kills, mocking police, threatening school buses full of children. He demanded his letters be printed on the front page or he'd kill again. One cipher, the infamous Z340, resisted decryption for 51 years until amateur codebreakers cracked it in 2020, only to reveal more arrogant nonsense. No name, no confession. Thousands of suspects were investigated, including the heavily scrutinized Arthur Lee Allen, whose circumstantial links were compelling but never conclusive. No arrests. The last verified Zodiac letter arrived in 1974. Then, silence. The files remain open across jurisdictions, but active investigation has largely wound down. As of recent years, it's officially inactive in many places, another monster who vanished, leaving terrified families and a region forever scarred by unanswered questions. 4. The Chicago Tylenol murders, poison in the aisles. In September and October 1982, ordinary people in the Chicago area reached for a trusted pain reliever and paid with their lives. 7 victims, strangers with no connections, died agonizing deaths after swallowing extra-strength Tylenol laced with lethal potassium cyanide. One was a 12-year-old girl who simply took a pill for a cold. Bottles from different stores and batches were tainted, pointing to random, terrifying tampering. Panic swept the nation. Johnson & Johnson recalled 31 million bottles. The crisis birthed modern tamper-evident packaging we still use today. A man named James Lewis sent an extortion letter to the company demanding money, but investigators cleared him of the actual poisonings. He served time only for extortion. He remained the prime suspect in public eyes for decades, protesting his innocence until his death in 2023. With Lewis gone and no other solid leads ever emerging, the Chicago Tylenol murders remain unsolved, a chilling reminder that evil can hide in the most mundane place, your medicine cabinet. 5. Bob Crane, the star's dark end. Bob Crane seemed to have it all, the charismatic star of the hit sitcom Hogan's Heroes, beloved for his humor and charm. But behind the camera, Crane lived a double life, obsessively filming his sexual encounters with the help of friend and video equipment salesman John Carpenter. On June 29, 1978, Crane was found in his Scottsdale, Arizona apartment, bludgeoned to death with an unknown object, an electrical cord knotted around his neck. Blood spattered the walls. A tripod smear suggested the murder weapon. Suspicion zeroed in on Carpenter after witnesses reported tension between them. He was tried in 1994 but acquitted due to inconclusive evidence. Later, DNA tests on blood specks from Carpenter's rental car were inconclusive, no definitive match to Crane or anyone else. With the prime suspect cleared and no fresh leads in over 45 years, Bob Crane's brutal end remains a dark, unresolved chapter in a once bright Hollywood life. These stories are some of the most frustrating dead ends in criminal justice history, proof that sometimes the truth slips through our fingers, lost forever to time, silence, or sheer bad luck. If these tales of forgotten victims move you, and you want to hear more about the mysteries the world has tried to bury, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. Every victim deserves to be remembered, no matter how cold the trail has grown. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.